Tonight, the Sagkeeng Anicinabe First Nation is remembering one of their own following a sudden homicide.
We were completely humiliated.
Two customers in Winnipeg are speaking out after a recent incident in Home Depot. And an Indigenous senator tells King Charles, "You're not my king," during his royal tour in Australia. Good evening, I'm Sagkeeng Anicinabe. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The Sagkeeng Anicinabe First Nation in Manitoba held a somber healing event today in the aftermath of suddenly losing one of their members. Last Monday, a 26-year-old woman was murdered in the community. On October 14th at 12:20 a.m., Powerview RCMP received a call about a woman being assaulted on North Shore Road in Sagkeeng. The First Nation is located about an hour and a half north of Winnipeg. They located the woman on the side of the road where she was pronounced deceased. On Wednesday, RCMP charged a 15-year-old boy with second-degree murder. The next day, they charged an additional suspect, 20-year-old Lexi Fontaine, also charged with second-degree murder. Both suspects remain in custody while the investigation continues. A 30-year-old man is dead after a shooting in the Sandy Bay Ojibwe First Nation last Friday night. According to a Manitoba RCMP press release, on October 18th at around 11:25 p.m., the Sandy Bay detachment of the Manitoba First Nation Police Service responded to a report of shots fired at a residence located in the First Nation. When officers arrived, they found a man deceased on the scene. RCMP Major Crime Services and RCMP Forensic Identification Services continued their investigation this week. So far, no one has been arrested, and police are asking anyone with information to call police. RCMP is also investigating a shooting in the Nisitchewayasik Cree Nation that left a teenager seriously injured over the weekend. On Saturday, October 19th at around 2:25 a.m., Nelson House RCMP received a report of someone being shot inside a residence on Linklater Road in the First Nation. Officers located a 13-year-old male who suffered injuries from a gunshot and was taken to a Winnipeg hospital with life-threatening injuries. Officers determined that shots were fired at the house and a bullet passed through the walls of the living room and victim's bedroom and hit the 13-year-old while he was in bed. 5 people were in the home at the time, including 3 other youth. The victim underwent treatment and is now stable. So far, no arrests have been made and the investigation continues. Police do not believe there is a larger public safety threat because the home was targeted. What should have been a normal stop to pick up an online order at a Home Depot store in North Winnipeg turned into an incident that has now led the customers choosing to take their business elsewhere. Both believe racism was the reason things turned out the way they did. We spoke to the 2 customers involved and the company. Here's that story.
You know, there's other places where we can spend our money. And we've done a lot of business over the years.
Long-time customers Calvin Neepanak and Jennifer Chartrand are choosing to shop elsewhere after this incident that happened on Tuesday, October 1st, involving a Toro security guard.
You gotta go home, buddy.
Calvin.
First time?
The couple says they went to this Home Depot on the 800 block of Leela Avenue in Winnipeg to pick up the door they purchased online. When they arrived, they decided to stop and look at the Halloween display and snowblowers. And that is when a security guard approaches Neepanak.
Oh my God.
He says, what are you doing here? What do you want? And I said, excuse me? That's exactly what I said, excuse me? And then he said, what are you doing here? What do you want? I said, I'm here to pick up an online order. I said, you know what? You don't even work here. You're just a security guard. I said, you're not an employee here. And then that's when he got mad.
This guy just came up to us and he's like almost attacking Calvin. What the hell?
Chartrand's cell phone video begins recording about 1 minute after the initial interaction. The guard then takes out his cell phone to make his own recording, while Chartrand and Neepanak try to get the incident resolved at the customer service desk.
Oh my God, I'm like flipping out.
Then, a heated back and forth between Nipanak and the security guard.
You said save me. No, I didn't. You just told me to go back to my country.
Chartrand says she wanted to record everything, fearing that if she didn't, the interaction could have been a lot worse.
Because I've heard these stories go terrible, you know? I fumbled for my phone and I instantly went live.
Look at that. Look at that. He's still going at it. He's still going at it.
In the end, they were told by the security guard to leave the store, both upset and without their purchase.
We were completely humiliated. Absolutely. I felt like a criminal when we weren't.
Home Depot reached out to them to apologize and say they started an investigation. In a statement, a Home Depot spokesperson said, "We take these matters seriously, and the actions of the third-party security guard involved were unacceptable and did not align with our values. Customer service, respect, and safety are always a priority. I can tell you that the security guard involved is no longer at this store." APTN News attempted to get a comment from Toro Security in Winnipeg about the incident and the security guard involved. However, the company told APTN News they were unavailable numerous times. Chartrand says she wants cultural sensitivity training for Home Depot and the third-party staff it hires, while Nipanak believes there's a more serious reason as to why this happened. And after years of being watched and followed in other stores, Nipanak decided to take a stand on this day.
It's, how do you say it, racial profile. That's exactly what it is, you know, and I happen to look very indigenous, you know, but there's nothing I can do about that.
Home Depot also said they offered Nipanak and Chartrand their online order for free, along with a free delivery to their home and an added Home Depot gift card for the trouble they went through. The couple said they did not accept the offer. The Manitoba Métis Federation held its annual General Assembly over the weekend, welcoming thousands of Red River Métis virtually and in person in Winnipeg. On Saturday, the MMF announced a $2 million investment in the Red River Métis 60 Scoop Bridge to Justice Fund. The fund will give advance payments of up to $5,000 to Red River Métis 60 Scoop survivors to provide immediate financial relief. The MMF also announced that they're developing an AI model to help revitalize the Michif language and boost cultural programming. The details of the MMF's Children's Special Allowance class action lawsuit were also discussed. Settlements totaling $530 million were approved in early September. Métis Child and Family Services Minister Mona Beers said the Federation is still looking for people who may be eligible for compensation.
President Chartrand went and fought to get our mandate, and we are not fully there yet, but we are going hopefully with Bill C-92. But we don't wait for that. We take care of our children. We make sure they're in culturally appropriate places. We make sure they're culturally aware, and we always in the best interest of the child. So in conclusion, I would like to remind everyone that we are still looking for children who may be eligible for compensation under the Children's Special Allowance class action lawsuits.
The Manitoba Métis Federation has also announced the establishment of a new company, the Red River Métis Power Corporation. The plan is to develop, own, and operate high-quality alternative energy infrastructure, including wind farms. In a press release, the MMF says the goal is to eventually produce 300 megawatts in wind energy for residential, commercial, and industrial users. In comparison, the MMF says 100 megawatts can provide electricity to 30,000 homes a day, or the equivalent of all the homes in the cities of Brandon, Selkirk, and Thompson, Manitoba combined. They hope to deliver the energy to publicly owned Manitoba Hydro, which says it will need 600 megawatts of wind power in the near future. The announcement comes a month after the province released the Manitoba Affordable Energy Plan, which has an Indigenous loan guarantee to ring in what they call a, quote, new era of nation-to-nation energy partnership. According to Canada Mortgage and Housing, there are more rental units available across Canada, but rent continues to rise while vacancy rates drop. That has the Métis Nation Saskatchewan bringing some affordable housing to 3 areas of the province. M&S is launching 2 affordable housing projects in northern Saskatchewan. The first will be a pair of 3-bedroom duplexes in La Ronge. The second involves a tiny house in Timber Bay built by Correctional Services of Canada inmates to teach them construction skills. It should be ready for move-in by end of this month. M&S will also build 8 more tiny homes in La Loche once they hire a contractor. Rent will either be income-based or a flat fee, but it will be lower than average and M&S citizens get dibs. Matthew Gadet is Acting Director of Housing for M&S.
It's not the ones on a trailer kind of that you see on HGTV and stuff. They're basically, imagine a small cabin, 400 square foot bungalow, with a little kitchen, 1 bedroom, a little bathroom, maybe a closet or the ones we're doing in La Loche are going to have a loft.
Coming up, we'll tell you why King Charles got heckled during his royal visit in Australia. Plus, as the population grows, so too does its electoral boundaries. That story when we come back. Stay with us.
It's really important that we make sure that there's still rural voices.
Welcome back. Now to British Columbia, where the 3 Indigenous candidates we profiled on Friday have all won seats in the provincial legislature. NDP incumbent Joan Phillip won Vancouver Strathcona by a large margin with 68.8% of the vote, more than 3 times more than second place finisher Conservative Scotty Muller. First-time Conservative candidate Aaliyah Warbus won in Chilliwack Cultus Lake over her nearest rival Kelly Padden of the NDP. And first-time NDP candidate Tamara Davidson won her constituency of North Coast Haida Gwaii, also by a wide margin over Conservative Chris Sankey. Just which party governs BC for the next term is still too close to call. A recount is being held and the results are expected to come in between October 26th and October 28th. As King Charles continued his royal tour in Australia this week, he was suddenly heckled by an Indigenous senator on Monday after giving a speech to Australia's parliament. Have a listen.
Give us our land back! Give us what you stole from us! Our bones, our skulls, our babies, our people! You destroyed our land! Give us a treaty! We want a treaty in this country! You are a genocider! This is not your land! This is not your land! You are not our kids! You are not our kids!
That was Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe demanding King Charles to return stolen Indigenous land in Australia. It happened as King Charles and Queen Camilla visited Australia's capital to meet with the nation's leaders, including Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. According to the University of Newcastle, Australia, from 1788 to the 1930s, the arrival of British settlers led to the deaths of more than 11,000 Indigenous people. Almost half were killed by police or other government forces. Indigenous people in Australia never ceded sovereignty and have never engaged in a treaty process with the British Crown. The Yukon hasn't updated its electoral boundaries since 2008. Now, with a population that's ever growing, an independent commission recently released its final report with suggestions on how to improve representation in the territory's legislature. As Sarah Connors tells us, Yukon's NDP party is advocating for one First Nations riding in particular to remain on its own.
The Yukon Electoral Boundaries Commission released its final report on Yukon's electoral boundaries. There are currently 19 ridings in the territory, 11 of which are in Whitehorse. Earlier this spring, the commission suggested merging the Vuntut-Gwitchin riding and the fly-in community of Old Crow, with a population of less than 200 people, with the Klondike riding. The proposed merge would better balance the number of votes. But the commission found there was disagreement with its suggestion. Some argued the Vuntut-Gwitchin riding is unique because of its remoteness and strong First Nations identity. After considering public feedback, the commission changed its recommendation. Its final report notes the Vuntut-Gwitchin riding should remain separate.
Rural Yukon is going to lose as Whitehorse grows. And it's really important that we make sure that there's still rural voices.
Now, Yukon NDP leader Kate White wants to take the issue one step further. Last week, she put forward a private member's bill to amend the Elections Act. It would guarantee 8 rural MLAs, regardless of population growth in Whitehorse. The amendment would also help preserve the electoral district of Vuntut-Gwitchin as its own separate riding. The bill could be up for a final vote as early as next week.
It's really important that Vuntut-Gwitchin, despite its very small population, it still has representation.
The Vuntut-Gwitchin First Nation said in a statement it's glad to see the commission recommended it remain its own riding, and it supports White's bill. Earlier this week, Yukon government tabled the territory's new Electoral Boundaries Act. The act contains recommendations from the commission's final report. The bill still requires legislative approval before it can become law. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. A Navajo code talker passed away over the weekend. We'll tell you the history there. Plus, we'll tell you how one family is giving back to those in need in Winnipeg.
There's not enough help. And I don't know what the situation is, how we can change that situation.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Tesla Smith had to snap this photo and share it with us. It's the Campbell Highway near Little Salmon Lake, Yukon. Stunning area of the country, and thanks for sharing with all of us, Tesla. Send us your pictures to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, Charlottetown 12, Fredericton 16. The Grand River 13, and Ujuak 3. Gaspé 15, Saguenay 13. Windsor 23, Sarnia 24. Sudbury 22, Wawa 19. 7 in God's Lake, Puckatawagan -1. 12 in Gimli, Barons River 10. 23 in Regina, 5 in Yorkton. 0 in La Ronge, Stony Rapids -2. Sunny in Peace River at +1, Fort McMurray 1 as well. Medicine Hat 5, Calgary 3. Bella Coola 8, Kamloops 10. Fort Nelson 1, Dees Lake 0. -5 in Watson Lake, Old Crow 1. Yellowknife 0, Wrigley -3. Fort McPherson 3, Colville Lake 0. -5 in Baker Lake, Chesterfield -4. 0 in Clyde River, and -7 in Arctic Bay. Residents on BC's south coast are cleaning up after an atmospheric river dumped up to 200 millimeters of rain in some areas over the weekend. These videos posted to social media show roads in West Vancouver turned into rivers, and thousands of homes and businesses were flooded in Deep Cove. In Burnaby, some main streets were turned into lakes, with cars seen floating in the water. This is the first significant rainstorm the South Coast has faced this year. And an unusual sight in Egypt has gone viral on social media. A stray dog was spotted climbing the Great Pyramid of Giza, possibly chasing a bird or perhaps just taking in the view. Thankfully, the pooch made it back down to the ground safely. Back in Winnipeg, 150 backpacks filled with items like mittens and sleeping bags were handed out to people in need. It's part of an annual initiative called Backpacks from Heaven. The initiative was started by the family of Destiny Talu, who died in 2018 from an accidental fentanyl overdose. She was only 22 years old. On Friday, well over 100 people lined up outside the Salvation Army to receive a backpack. Talu's boyfriend, Sean Neufeld, was instrumental in starting the initiative. Sadly, he died in 2021 from an overdose. Sean's dad, Chuck Neufeld, says they've kept the initiative going, aiming to increase the number of backpacks each year. He spoke about the need for better mental health and addiction supports in Manitoba.
There isn't enough support. You know, people go into a treatment facility and there's no transition places for them to reside, to keep them off of the streets and off of the drugs and stuff that they're doing. Mental health, it's a fast turnaround at some of these clinics. They walk in and they told them there's no room, go out in the streets. So there's not enough help. And I don't know what the situation is, how we can change that situation. Just the government's got to throw more money at it, because people that are camped out on the street, on the riverbanks and in parking lots, winter's coming quickly. And there's a lot more people that are out in the streets than there has been in the past.
And finally for us tonight, one of the last remaining Navajo code talkers who sent messages during World War II in his Navajo language has died. Officials with the Navajo Nation in Window Rock, Arizona said that John Kinsel Sr. passed away peacefully in his sleep on Saturday. He was 107 years old. Kinsel was one of hundreds of Navajo soldiers recruited by the U.S. to serve as code talkers, sending messages based on their then unwritten language. From 1942 to 1945, the unbreakable codes confused the Japanese military, saving countless American lives and playing a crucial role in helping the U.S. win the war in the Pacific. With Kinsel's passing, there are now only 2 original code talkers left: former Navajo Chairman Peter McDonald and Thomas H. Begay. And that's your APTN National Newscast for this Monday, October 21st. We're back again tomorrow for your midday newscast. Make sure to join us then. From our HQ in Winnipeg and from our reporting staff across the country, hi miigwech, masicho. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.